Institute is an executive education institute providing professional leadership courses through online and blended channels.
We champion ourselves in executive education that drives Africa's innovation.
Our foundation is based on the inspiration from ubiquitous African leaders like Nelson Mandela, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and Kwame Nkrumah.
The Institute offers curriculum deeply focused on cultivating leadership and places wisdom collected from indigenous African cultures and progressive philosophies at the center of its programs.
Our leadership course include Corporate Leadership Professional Course,
Professional Women's Leadership Course,
Philanthropic Leadership Professional Course,
Student and Youth Leadership Short Course,
Political Leadership Professional Course,
the Personal MBA Business Leadership Professional Course.
Whether you choose an online program or not, you will be interacting with your fellow executives.
For those looking to accelerate or change their careers, we provide a rich exposure to your peers and the Poly alumni as you explore. Poly is worldwide, and our alumni is strong.
Visit us to enroll at www.panafricanleadership.institute. Simply fill an application form and proceed to greatness.
Contact us, info@panafricanleadership.institute, panafricanleadershipinst@gmail.com. Phone or WhatsApp, +233 55 353 87 80.
Hello, and a very big welcome to the Pan-African Leadership Institute. This is our very special open edition on networking, and we're very excited here at Poly to serve you. We're especially very happy to see all of you, our amazing alumni and executive students. And of course, this was open to the public. And so we're very happy to have friends and family and colleagues at work join us for this all-important seminar on how we can all transform our networks into our net worth. And of course, here at Poly and also here in Africa, Africa is a spiritual continent. And so we want to kick off our seminar with a prayer. And we're going to the giant of Africa. The giant of Africa is Nigeria. And we have one of our wonderful alumni all the way from Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria. And he is a human resource practitioner. He's a senior executive with the Nigerian National Petroleum Authority, or the Nigerian National Petroleum Limited, in the person of Mr. Amos Beecham. Mr. Amos Beecham will kick off this session with us with a prayer. Good afternoon, Mr. Beecham.
Thank you very much, Dr. Coffey. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today to seek knowledge and wisdom in the realm of networking, recognizing that our connections can truly become our net worth. We thank you for the opportunity to come together to learn, share, and grow. As we embark on this journey of understanding networking and building meaningful relationships, we ask for your guidance and blessings. Please grant us the strength and insight to make the most of this seminar and help us utilize the skills we acquire for both personal and professional growth. May we approach this seminar with open hearts and minds, ready to absorb the valuable lessons and experiences shared by our speakers and fellow participants. Let our network grow stronger, and may it contribute to our well-being and the well-being of those around us. In your name we pray. Amen.
And the very big amen. You can do an amen in the chat, a big amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Beecham, all the way from Nigerian National Petroleum Limited. Thank you so much. We are proud of you as a Poly alumni and for the work that you do, sir. All right, distinguished.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Distinguished leaders, we want to kick off with our Poly anthem. And for those that are new to the Pan-African Leadership Institute, we do sing our anthem at the start of each and every one of our classes. Today's anthem is in the Xhosa language of South Africa. And The lyrics of the anthem says, Lord bless Africa. Now, this song became a Pan-African song, and versions of it have been adopted as the national anthems of several countries across the beautiful continent of Africa. In this Xhosa language, the song says, Lord bless Africa. May her horn rise high up and hear our prayers. Bless our chiefs, our leaders. May they remember their creator and fear him and revere him. Bless the public man, bless also the youth across the continent of Africa. May they serve their nations with patience. Bless the wives and all the young women. We'll lift up all the young girls for you to bless them. Bless the ministers of faith of all religions on this continent, and endue them with your spirit. Bless our agriculture and livestock. Bless, banish famine and diseases. Fill the land with good health and bless it. Bless our efforts of union, of self-reliance, of education, and mutual understanding. God bless Africa. Let's enjoy our anthem as we get ready for this session. Let's sing it together. Over to our IT officer. right, I thought you would be clapping your hand right there to that beautiful, lovely anthem, the Pan-African song that inspires us and says, God bless Africa, the greatest continent on the face of the earth. It's my honor to welcome our distinguished alumni from 41 nations from around the world, 41 nations on 5 continents. Let me just take 2 minutes to do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to hand over to our Chief Academic Director as we get ready for this beautiful conversation on networking, one of the most important conversations we could ever have. And so to those that may be new to the Pan-African Leadership Institute, PALI was established in June 2020 and started running its courses in February 2021. And the vision of PALI is to see an Africa and the world that is led by holistic, entrepreneurial, and conscientious leaders in all sectors of society. Leaders who truly serve, develop, and maximize the potential of their people and resources for a peaceful, progressive, and prosperous world. PALI's professional leadership courses are run in a blended format or on the virtual platforms. Our courses and our curriculum is world-class, and we also offer a strong global network of leaders in more than 41 nations across Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Middle East, Asia, to tap into for the rest of your lives. Currently, we have 13 major advanced leadership certificate courses, which include the Corporate Leadership Professional Certificate course, Entrepreneurial Leadership, Political Leadership for political leaders, Educational Leadership for educational leaders, a crown jewel course, the Personal MBA, which is currently being run, our Nonprofit Leadership Professional Certificate course, Professional Women's Leadership Certificate course, Youth Leadership, Religious Leadership, Diplomatic Leadership, Transformational Leadership, Creative Arts Leadership, as well as the Traditional Leadership Professional Certificate course. Distinguished leaders, it's my honor to welcome our Chief Academic Director, to welcome you all as we kick off this seminar on the power of networking and how you can turn your network into your net worth. Dr. Paulette Jordan is our Chief Academic Director. She is an African-American who has taught and led faculty teams at 7 United States universities. She is a retired U.S. Air Force officer, and she was in the Air Force for nearly 30 years. She has more than 50 years in leadership experience. She has experience also as a faculty lead, a department chair, dissertation content expert. She is a visiting professor, an adjunct professor, and a military outreach manager. Of course, she serves as our Chief Academic Director, and outside PALI, she has owned and operated several businesses. Let's welcome our distinguished Dr. Paulette Jordan to welcome us and then to take off this session. Thank you, Dr. Jordan.
Thank you, Dr. Coffey, and welcome. I'm looking at the numbers. There's 120 of our executive students who joined us today, and what a testament that is to our effectiveness with you, and also the fact that we can actually speak with you about networking. We have said here at PALI that your networking is your net worth. And so you would wonder how we selected this topic out of all of the topics that we have covered with our leaders over the last 18 months. And it's because this topic is so critical to your effectiveness as a leader in your own context, in your world, in your community. It is so, so important. And sometimes people will tell you that your ability to network effectively will depend on your personality. And I want to rebut that, because your personality, according to child development specialists, your personality is developed by the time that you are 5 years old. So you will hear things like, oh, she's extroverted, he's introverted. And you will think that those personality types have an impact on what you can do in your networking circles. And it's just not true. I'll use myself and my husband as an example. I am an extreme extrovert. When I walk in a room, I can work the whole room, and it just energizes me to do so. My husband is an extreme introvert. He can work that room because he's learned how to do it, but it completely exhausts him. When he gets done, he has to go and lay down and take a nap because it has exhausted him. He is an introvert, but he has learned how to use the tools that are available in networking to be effective doing it. So don't let somebody tell you that your personality will limit your networking. It will only limit it if you allow it. Depending on your personality, you just need to learn what tools will work effectively for you. And hopefully today we have some qualified facilitators who are going to share with you. So I want to welcome you to our networking seminar. It's the first attempt for us, but I certainly think that it is one that was carefully selected because of its impact on you as leaders, but also because as you learn these tools and apply them, you can expand your own network. And we know from experience what that will do for your business, for your ministry, for your work, for your life, for your career. It's just so many benefits to it. So I welcome you today to this class, and I applaud you for taking time on a Sunday to be here, because we normally meet on Saturdays, but taking time on a Sunday to be here to gain this valuable information. That says where you are as a leader, and you're willing to invest in where you want to go. So we applaud you. We welcome you to this networking seminar. We encourage you to look at this video after today. Go back, it will be accessible to you. Listen to the content and take from it the tools that you can learn and apply that work effectively regardless of personality, that you can apply and grow and expand your own network. So I thank you for joining us. I welcome you. I believe you are in for a treat with the facilitators that we've got lined up for you. And so put your thinking hats on, open your ears, open your hearts, and hear what will be spoken to you today. I know that if you expand your network, you will improve every aspect of your personal business and goals. So let's do that. Thank you again for coming on this Sunday and invest in this time in your own growth and development. So thank you again, welcome, and I think you're in for a treat. Back over to you, Dr. Coffey.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Jordan. We're clapping for you. All right, distinguished leaders, you know, I remember many years ago when I was so shy that I could not even speak to 3 people. And when I said that to some of my friends, they say, I don't believe that. We don't believe that. But you know what? I was so shy that I could not even speak to 3 people. And I do have a book on the power of self-confidence. But not just that, it took me years to work on myself to build a network. And today, by the grace of God, I could pick up a phone and call many nations in the world and just get things moving, because I have been able to learn some of the principles of networking, only some. And I haven't learned more than 10%, but I tell you, I am aggressive in learning how to network, because I have some business friends, and everywhere you go with them, they are just picking up networks. They can get things moving so quickly and so fast just because of the skill of networking. Networking skill is like how you ride a bicycle. It's like how you ride a bicycle. When you're starting to ride a bicycle, you keep falling, you're a little bit afraid and you're a little bit shy. You don't know how to approach people and all of that. But as you practice the skill, you can now start riding the bicycle and get to the point where you can even ride with just your legs, and you can raise your hand up because the skill is coming, and you can hold the steering and just lift it up. Why? Because you have been practicing. And when you practice this skill of networking, very soon, everywhere you go, you'll be picking up people, you'll be picking up connections. Why? Because many people complain that it's all about who you know. But the question is, why don't you know people? If you open up, you'll be able to build an incredible network. I'm not the best person to share all of that. There is someone here who's able to do a lot more than I can do. All right, so let's kick off first with a lady, and she's one of our distinguished Poly alumni. She has such a huge profile that I asked her that we update her profile. And so I'm here to have her most recent profile. She's doing such an amazing work in the Caribbean and other parts of the world. Miss Cordell Williams Graham is the CEO of the Young Entrepreneurs Association of Jamaica, and she's also the CEO of Transformational Life Solutions Jamaica, and she has a lot of stuff under her belt. She understands the power of networking. So distinguished leaders, let's first start with her. You know, we have someone else speaking, and then the main session is going to be run by a gentleman who features very solidly on our personal MBA course. So the part of this conversation is an extension from our personal MBA course. Let's make welcome Madame Cordell, please. Say welcome, Cordell, welcome, Cordell, welcome, Cordell. Thank you, Cordell, for making time to do this. Thank you, thank you.
So much, Dr. Kofi. I'm just gonna share a brief presentation. I know I have 10 minutes, so I'm gonna try and share as much of the presentation as possible, all right? All right, so today we're gonna talk, well, thanks for everyone for coming out. I'm really glad to see so many people out on a Sunday, as was shared earlier. And I think, you know, I'm really excited to share with you. So we don't have much time, so I'm gonna try and get as much in as possible. And so I'm sharing on the topic, your net worth is determined by your network. And as Dr. Kofi said, I'm Cordell, and a lot of persons will call me many names. The one I like is the people transformer, because, you know, my work is really to help people to transform through gaining greater clarity on their potential and purpose, getting organized, systemized, and accessing opportunities that help them to build their confidence and courage to realize their true potential and realize their goals and objectives. And I do that through my work, as well as as being the president of the Young Entrepreneurs Association, also running Transformational Life Solutions, where we offer training, coaching, consulting, speaking, and also change management through my partnership with Change First Limited in the UK. I don't know if Audrey is on here, but she's also an alumni, right? And like I said, it's really about transforming people, you know, turning all the gifts and talents that you have into, you know, holistic, you know, practical solutions that help to transform. We have done that for so many persons. Launch businesses, you know, systemize and transform their businesses, etc. And so some of the strategies that I want to share with you today are coming from that background, my background and my work in transformation, and also my connection, you know, with God. And like, I think it was Dr. Jordan that said, let's come open, because I'm not here to turn anybody into a Christian, but I'm sharing from a Christian perspective today. And so I want you to be open, and I want you to align what you will learn with your own realities as an individual, as a professional, as a business person, an entrepreneur, wherever you sit. Use your own experiences and take from it what you will. So let me see in the chat. Well, I can't really see the chat at this time, right? But share in the chat so that others can benefit. What comes to mind when you think of the word net worth? Just type that in the chat. Let me see if I can bring up the chat here. Any word that comes to your mind when you think of net worth? I see value, right? I see some persons saying value, connections, personal wealth, right? Total accumulation of wealth, building relationships. Great. So you guys are onto it, right? Yes, and net worth is really about, you know, as they say, value, being at the top of your field, where you stand, the value, but creating value for yourself by making your goals and strategies happen, realizing your goals, right? Leading the field, commanding that influence, building relationships that help you to go forward, just like you have shared. But, you know, there's a definition that surrounds what net worth is, networking is, and that is really what helps you to create your net worth, right? So the network, having a network that actually works, can help you to realize a greater net worth as an individual. So a network is a group or system of interconnected people or things, and it's really a mutually beneficial connection between people and people with things, right, as well, that help you to realize common goals and objectives, where people share ideas, resources, opportunities, and information for advancement and achievement, right? So that's what the network is. So the network can literally make you or break you, right? Because if it is the tool and the way in which you can access your net worth or create a greater net worth or value proposition as an individual, it can make you and break you. And there are some things that we learn. Show me your company and I tell you who you are, right? You're the, as Jim Rohn says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Can 2 walk together unless they agree, right? Birds of a feather flock together, right? So the network that you connect yourself and align yourself with can literally make you or break you. But what we want to learn today is how it can help to make you. Guess what? Your network can help you to solve problems rather than create them, help you to gain access to resources, advice and knowledge, motivation, influence and power, and it can increase your capacity to seize greater opportunities, access advancement opportunities, and also in some cases, help you to redirect and go in the right direction. And I share quickly a story which comes from the Bible, my best reality. Right, all that I've achieved, I can base it on God more than even the work that I do in life. Right. So, quick story from Luke 5:1 verse 1 to 11. Right, where many of you may be familiar. If you're not, you can read after. But Jesus was on, by the seashore. There were people crowding him, and he needed to get away from that. There was some problem even with his network that he was operating in, and he needs to get away from that. And he saw Simon Peter and some other fishermen on the side of by the water's edge, and he needed to get away from that. And he saw them with a boat, and he said, "Hey, can I borrow your boat?" And that boat was used to carry him out a little deeper into the water so he could get away from his problem. And, as they were on the water and he came off and he finished preaching, he said to Simon Peter, "Hey, I think you need to go back into your boat, roll out the boat a little deeper into the water, and you can catch the fish." And Simon said, "I don't think I don't know if I'm going to catch any fish, because I've been out here all night working, going at it, and we haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I'm going to go ahead and let down the net and see what we can catch." And guess what? He caught so much fish, he couldn't handle it. He had to call others to come and help him pull in the fish. And when he did so, and before Jesus left, Jesus said, "Hey, as from today, you're not just going to catch fish, but you're going to be a fisher of men." Now, what can we take from this story? A lot. And I'm going to try to sum it up. I have 3 minutes, and I'm going to go real quick. So you're going to have to pay attention. What can we learn from the story? And as I encourage you, go back and read it and make some connection. Believe you have something to offer. That's the first thing. I hear Dr. Kofi said, I wasn't confident, right? That's some work that you guys have to do. But are you going to go out to a coach, or are you going to do it personally? Try to build your confidence, knowing that you have something implanted in you that God gave you, some talent, some strategy, some strength that you have that you can bring to the table. If you're going to network with others, you're going to have to bring something to the table. And if you don't know what you bring to the table in the first place, it's going to make you uncomfortable. So work on your belief in yourself and your clarity in what you have to bring to the table. And Jesus knew what he had to bring to the table, and so did Simon. Simon had a boat, and Jesus knew what he was going to do for Simon at the end of the day. He knew what he was bringing to the table. And that's helped him to take that initiative to approach Simon and say, "Hey, lend me your boat." Right? So taking initiative is another thing. If you need help with something, Jesus was crowded. and he needed to get away from that. You're going to have to take initiative and connect to the people that have the solution and the strategies that can help you to get out of the challenges or to advance the things that you are trying to advance, right? So take initiative, asking for help. Yes, Jesus demonstrated asking for help, being genuine and transparent about your situation and intentions. We can learn that from Simon, where he said, listen, I've been out here, I'm not catching anything. Sometimes you're in business, sometimes you're in your career, and you're not moving, you're not advancing, but you're going around people and you're acting like, oh, I have it all together, I'm doing so great. Let's be genuine. If we need help, we're going to ask for it. And you, knowing that you have something to offer as well, it's not hard for you to say, hey, help me with something, right? So that's another thing, being genuine, being real and authentic as you interact with people, because we're all spirits, you know, and we can see through people sometimes. Our spirit, our intuition can pick things up, right? You don't have to look too far. That's another lesson that we can learn from this. So sometimes you have challenges. And I think it was Dr. Kofi that loves to talk about the 6 degrees or 5 degrees of separation. Your solution, the strategies that you need are right in your midst. You don't have to look too far. Just a minute. You don't have to look too far to find the people that you need to connect to. There's a saying that says, if you're trying to sell something, don't go across town unless you go across the streets. Yes? So try to connect with the people that are right around you. Yes? And build relationships with the people close to you first before you try to build connection with the world. You'll be surprised to know how close you are to the people in the world, as Dr. Kofi said, right? One thing leads to another. Yes, we might have a goal. You're trying to, like I said, you're trying to get to a particular destination. You're trying to get to a particular person, but let things play out. Yes. And why I say this, just in this, in the situation, Jesus started out with a boat. Then it led to him connecting with Simon. Then it led to him getting a disciple. Yes, one thing leads to another. So you have to be open when you enter relationships with people. Yes, you might be talking about one particular thing, but as the conversations, as the interactions go on, you find that you have more in common that you could ever believe. And there's greater things that you were actually meant to accomplish. You have to allow, you know, the divine God or whoever you believe in to connect you and to play out exactly the final and ultimate objective of what that network is. So don't just go in there and say, oh, I'm connecting to this person for that or that. Allow things to play out. The next thing you want to know, as you come into a relationship, you come to serve, not just to be served, not just to take. Yes, you come to take, but know that you also come to give, right? So you see where Simon, yes, he probably know Jesus, you know. Jesus was world famous by this time. He knew that he could work miracles. He could probably help him with the fish, but he didn't hesitate. He said, lend me the boat. And even though he had not caught anything, even though he was discouraged, he was still able to look past that and serve. And so we have to pay that attention as you go into the relationships that you're going. Don't just go in to say, oh, this person gonna connect me to somebody. Oh, this person gonna, you know, give me money, or this person gonna open a door. Going back to what you have to offer and adding that to the table, right? Being humble and be willing to take advice. We can learn this from Simon. Yes, you might be the sharpest, you know, doctor, the sharpest, whatever in your field, the sharpest entrepreneur, you know, the business back to back. Simon was a fisherman and he knew how to fish. But he was humble enough and willing enough to take the advice to say, listen, go a little deeper, go again. So you have to be so humble. And this comes with recognizing that there's divinity, there's value in others. So when somebody is giving you some advice, you're very open and willing to take that advice. I think I'm out of time. Giving honor to your network, right? Everyone has value, like I said, being willing to recognize that. If you read back in the story, you'll see where Simon bowed down After the advice that he had been given worked out, he bowed down and he recognized the divinity in Jesus and the fact that this man, even though he wasn't a fisherman, he had something to share that actually worked for him. And then this is a thing too, when you go into networks, people will come in, I've seen it so many times, and they take your advice, but they are not willing to say, hey, I got this advice from someone, right? We want to be self-made, and there's no such thing as being self-made. Somewhere along the line, somebody is sharing something, give honor to that advice and appreciate and give gratitude to that. Be willing to share the opportunities that you have gotten as well as, and don't keep it to yourself. There's no way you're gonna grow. There's no way you're gonna expand if you're holding on to everything that you get. You can't walk, you can't move, you're so heavy. You saw what Simon Peter did. He recognized, and we spoke about the capacity that networking allows. He saw that he couldn't handle all the fish. Instead of keeping it to himself, he say, come on in and come get some too. And if you're gonna grow, you're gonna have to be kind. Anything that comes to you, you're gonna have to, be willing to share, so that as you share, you're expanding and growing. Look for like minds, and this is the last slide I'm gonna share for. Look for like minds and hearts, not expertise or rank, okay? So you saw where Jesus, he came, he knows he had a mission to find disciples, and he found that in Simon. Values and goals. He saw someone who, he was fishing for people. Jesus was in the business of fishing for people. He saw a fisherman. He saw willingness to serve. He couldn't succeed, Jesus, without being a service-oriented person. And he saw that in Simon. He saw resilience, because some people are stubborn, right? And you might need resilience in your field. We all need resilience to get through this life. And he saw someone who was willing to stay up all night, right? And fish, even though he wasn't catching anything. And he knew he needed that person on the team. He saw obedience and faith, even though he had failed himself. Let me let down my nets again. I'm going to try because you said so, right? And so he was very excited about that. And the collaboration, he saw somebody who could work with a team, and he knew he was going to bring on other disciples. So he saw the values and the goals, and he saw value. He saw that this man had something to add, and both him and Simon together could be a great team. And the last point I'm going to share, because I see Dr. Kofi turn on him camera, that's my wrap-up signal and everything, right? Yes, so the last point I'm going to share, guys, is when you're dealing with people, you have to move the needle from transactional to relational. Yes, you're going to get the opportunity, the connection, the open door, etc. But you're going to be willing to go a little deeper, as Jesus said, go deeper out into the water so that you can catch the real fish. And when you begin to open up, when you begin to relate to people, when you begin to connect to people as people, and not just as an opportunity or open door, that is when people are going to open up to you. That's when the world is going to open up to you, and you're going to get the true value of networking and thereby be able to expand your net worth. Thank you.
Are you clapping? Okay, Cordell, I'm just writing you your check right now. I mean, the level of wisdom within this 15 minutes that you have shared is just amazing and mind-blowing. Serious nuggets that can just radically advance our networks, that will directly impact our networks. All right, please put your comments in the chat room. We only packed tremendous capacity within just 90 minutes. And so we're going to jump to the next, but I'm just blown away. But wait, Cordell is still with us. And so she'll be open to taking your questions after the next two presentations. Before we listen to our Harvard scholar, let's go to another scholar. She's all the way from the Pearl of Africa, all right? The Pearl of Africa. And she is a trainer. She's an image consultant, and she is a project manager in the Pearl of Africa, which is Uganda. All right, distinguished leaders, here at Poly, we do have the Poly Alumni Community Project. And so she's going to share some experiences from there and give us some insight on the power of networking. Joanne, we just love you and we appreciate you as a Poly alumni and for all that you do for the nation of Uganda and, of course, for the alumni community. All right, let's welcome Madame Joanne, please, to share some nuggets. And then we go to a Harvard scholar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kofi. Thank you, Pali. Greetings, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon. I'm very excited to be here, very excited to share the little that I have gained in a very short time. I mean, sorry, the immense knowledge, immense networking that I've shared with people from Pali in this very short time. Dr. Kofi, my network is a bit low. I don't know if my video is showing.
It's
keeps going
perfect.
off.
It's perfect. We can see you so perfectly. And we just want to take you out of the camera and take you around the world. And we can hear you.
All right.
Please carry on.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Joan Kebirungi. I'm from Uganda. Yes, the Pearl of Africa. Please visit Uganda, visit the River Nile, visit the amazing animals in Uganda. You're very welcome. Now, I have a few minutes. I will not take so much time. I'll quickly go through the little that I have prepared. First, I'll start with what my take is on your network is your network. Thank you, Ms. Cordell. You presented so well, and I feel I do not have anything I can even add. I picked up from your presentation that we should not keep anything to ourselves. We should be always willing to share. We are social creatures. We are not islands of self-sufficiency. It is through relationships that we can attain our goals in life. Relationships are important in family and social life for our emotional fulfillment. In professional life, for our professional fulfillment. Without the networks in our community, or if we have poor quality networks, we get impoverished. With networks of genuine friends, we thrive emotionally, socially, professionally. Our life may be affected by factors beyond our immediate control, like the COVID period. But even then, we shall fare as well as we could have managed under circumstances, because genuine networks of friends and acquaintances will uplift us. Personally, the COVID experience was testimony to the fact that your network is your network in all aspects of life. Emotionally, the most unexpected of friends in my network were the uplifting factor in that very downtown. The COVID time, the sickness and whatever was going on around the world, this bad news all the time. Unexpected friends in my network would get in touch and would keep us, connected, just so we keep uplifted. When businesses were closed and no hope was in sight, it was still through networks that we learned how to do business online. We learned how to deal with people online. We thrived in that time because of networks. However, my biggest testimony with that period was health-wise, because people were sick and we did not know what to do. We were enclosed in our spaces. We did not know where to seek help or how to go about it. But help was available in the toughest of these situations from networking still. So this is just a little to tell you that in whatever the situation is, networks will be our net worth, regardless of, it doesn't have to be only about business or only about work. It's in all aspects of life. Most of my business and work successes have also been through friends who either commissioned me for work or recommended me to others. I've also learned that networks are not necessarily networking with people with big CVs. Everyone has something to offer in the most unbelievable ways. Talking about our community project, our community was number 31, and it was initially it was very exciting, you know, to be put in small groups, because the main group has so many people, so we all get lost along the way. But getting into the small groups was really exciting. So when the emails were sent out, initially I thought, because we're all leaders, we were all going to, you know, fall over each other trying to lead the project. It was a bit of a downer because nobody came up, and I think we all got too busy. So I took up the initiative to reach out to my members, to the members on my community, and try to invite them to form a WhatsApp group that would help us work on the project. 5 of the members from the community 31, were just amazing, so amazing. And it is from this that I really believe our networks, because it didn't look like we were struggling. We had a call, we tried to get in touch and talk, and it was very interesting. It was interesting to learn about other people. It was interesting to make friends with people that are so far away from us and people who we don't network with all the time. So we had meetings, we did our assignment, and lucky enough, we're able to meet the deadline and present. But I learned from all this that sometimes we think networks have to be really big. If it's a group of 12, everybody has to be on board. Just the 5 of us. We had a Reverend Tatu from Cameroon. We had Glowy from Botswana, Amanda Scott from Brazil, Lawrence from Ghana, and Daniel from Ghana. And we managed to put something together, and we created a friendship. I think a friendship that's going to grow with time. So it's very exciting, and I'm glad I've had this brief opportunity to share just a little of what has happened for me. I thank you, Dr. Kofi. I thank everyone. I do not want to take so much time, but I'm glad and happy that I had this opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Power to the leaders.
Let's give it up to Madam Joanne, all the way from Uganda, and she took on the challenge of the Pali Alumni Community Project, brought her team together and worked so hard to pull that presentation together. Such a beautiful presentation. We want to put it out to the whole world to see what an amazing work you have done. Thank you for sharing those lessons and those nuggets with us. We appreciate you. Well, thank you so much. Please keep up your great work.
Thank you, Dr. Kofi.
Thank you much. Thank you so much. All right, distinguished leaders, you know, Pali's Crown Jewel course is the personal MBA course. And we heard from both Joanne and Cordell that to network effectively, you should share. And so here at Pali, we're just sharing something out of the personal MBA Crown Jewel course. So if you missed that course, there is a bit of it here for you. And the gentleman to lead us, he is a business leader with more than 15 years experience in business development, as well as in finance. He is the CEO of Pearl Technology, California, and now in Washington. He is also the CEO of OKF USA. Prior to that, he was an energy developer with the AES, a huge energy company in the US and around the world. He worked with Credit Suisse and so on and so forth. And among many other things, he is a Harvard MBA grad. So he's going to be sharing with us some networking nuggets from Ivy League MBA schools. And he's going to be sharing some secrets from Ivy League MBA schools as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Kobe. You're welcome. You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. It's great to be here with you all again. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, great. So wonderful to be with everyone again. Today we wanted to go over networking specifically, but I wanted to, Kofi requested that I go over just a summary of what we went over in the Secrets of Ivy League MBA module. So I wanted to take maybe a couple of minutes to go over that. And I think the structure of today is that, the questions will be taken later. So I'll go through the presentation, and then if you have any questions, feel free to put the questions in the chat, and then, we'll speak to the questions at the end. But just to go over what we learned the last time, we learned about kind of the 4 secrets, right? The first secret being practice being a CEO. And what that really means is your desired role, where you want to grow to, right? Whether it's to be a president, to be a CEO, to be a lead manager, to be a country manager, whatever your desired role is, actually practice that, right? Look at the best people doing that, practice literally in the mirror, right? But that's sort of really what the Harvard MBA was really about, was helping people practice to become CEOs, so that when they did become CEOs, they were not afraid to take that responsibility. The second kind of secret was confidence, because the thing is, without confidence, no one will follow you, right? Can you imagine someone trying to run for president but showing absolute zero confidence, right? Nobody's going to vote for that person. So people only follow leaders with a lot of confidence. And we went through some specific examples, including dressing well, right? Walking with confidence, just how you stand, how you carry yourself, right? How you lean into various responsibilities and areas in your life, right? The third secret was networking, and that's actually what we're going to drill down more today. And mental health is such an important problem these days that one way we can think of the network, being your network, is really your mental health insurance, right? And then the last thing, or the last secret, was setting high expectations for yourself. And I truly believe that we can all do more than we think. So these are the 4 secrets. I wanted to come up with a single sentence that can really capture those 4 secrets that we can all take away, right? Like a single sentence that when you remember it, it literally captures all the key secrets of an Ivy League MBA. So this is my attempt. So, and I'll just read it. To reach the high expectations that you have set for yourself, practice being a confident leader with a trusted network that will support you through the journey, right? So again, to reach the high expectations you have set, practice being a confident leader with a trusted network that will support you. Because without a trusted network, it's going to be hard to achieve some of those high expectations. And when you struggle, you're going to be struggling alone without that network. So this is a one sentence that we can potentially memorize and use that as we go forward in attaining some of the big goals that we have. So specifically, I wanted to dive into networking as sort of the third secret. And I'll go through some of the key secrets of an Ivy League MBA. But I wanted to divide it into 2 things: your network outside of Poly and your network within Poly. So let's start with your network outside of Poly, right? This is a favorite proverb that I'm sure all of you have heard. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? The reason we're all here in Poly is together we believe we can go farther than each of us individually, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't, be taking the time to be here. So the question really is, for a lot of people, is why do you need to develop your network, right? So let's just start from the basics. I know we all know this, but it's always helpful to start with the basics. Well, the first thing to develop a network is you want access to opportunities and information, right? These are things that you can't find on Google, you can't find on ChatGPT, you can't find online, right? And you also can't find within your existing network, right? So the reason you're developing is you want access to opportunities and access to information. I guarantee you, almost all of us do want access to more opportunities, right? We want better opportunities, right? So if you do want that access, that's one of the key things. Now, the second thing around developing your network is around resources. When you find people who are able to get so many things done so quickly, you find that they have available to them a lot of resources, whether it's people or money, right, or capital. And how they got that was through networking, right? So if you want to surround yourself with more resources, right, networking is the way you do it. And the third thing about developing network is, are you interested in influencing outcomes, right? Are you interested in actually influencing events in your life, right? Or events in your career, right? If you're actually interested in that, then you do want to develop your network, because one of the things that your network will give you is it will give you advocates, people who are behind the scenes when you're out of hearing, range, when you're not there, people who are advocating on your behalf, right? That's actually how you get a lot of things done. So this is just a basic foundation for why developing your network is you want access to opportunities, information, you want more resources than you currently have, and you want to be able to influence a lot of outcomes, right? So that's why. But let's go even deeper. What brings and keeps people together, right? And I have this framework that I developed. It's called values, goals, and interests, right? This is what brings people together is shared values, which is the key thing. It's the deepest thing that brings two people together, right? Is do we have shared values? Now, if we don't have shared values, the next thing that bonds two people together is do we have shared goals? Do we want to get to the same place, right? And then the third thing is shared interests, right? So the strongest bond is around shared values. The second strongest bond is around shared goals. And the third strongest bond is around shared interests. And when you have all three together, that brings and keeps people together for a long time. So as we're thinking about, networking, right, who we're looking to network with, right, these are the three criteria that we should be looking for. And so when you look at these three criteria, it brings a certain, kind of network around you, right? And so look at your friends, right? What are some of the shared values, shared goals, and shared interests that you have, right? Family, classmates, colleagues, peers, mentors, followers, right? Affiliate groups, right? Could be churches, other organizations that we're part of, right? When you actually drill down, what you realize is it is shared values or shared goals or shared interests that's bringing all of us together, right? So I wanted to break it down so that we can specifically actually look at it and say that, when you're seeking to expand your network, first of all, you need to believe that you want to expand your network, right? If you don't believe that you need to expand your network, then that's a separate category. That's fine. But if you believe that you want to expand your network, then you really want to think about and I think as Cordell shared earlier, you really want to think about what are you bringing to the table and what is the other person bringing to the table? And then you want to find a match. So you really want to make sure that you're finding a match between shared values, shared goals, and shared interests. And so when we think of specifically for my MBA program, which I went through in 2008 and through 2020. The way that the Harvard Lifetime Networking works, because Harvard never thinks of it as networking within the 2 years that you're in the program, they think of it as a lifetime network. So my cohort, it's divided into 10 cohorts, 90 people in each cohort. And within each cohort, you have group activities. You do a lot of trips. There's a lot of shared communication.
On lifetime network. Interesting. Not just for a short course, but for the rest of life.
Yeah, there's no point in investing in a network if you're not going to, gain value from it from the rest of your life, right? So that, Harvard really focuses on structuring it as a lifetime engagement. So within my cohort, we did a lot of trips, right? A lot of vacation trips together. There's a shared email list, that people email things together. We had cohort officers, so presidents, secretaries, and all of that. And then every year we did a live update, right? So 90 people, each person will email and share something about what's going on in their life at least once a year. Now, the other piece is learning teams. So during the 2-year program, you meet during the week every day with your learning team. And the learning team, you go over the case study, which is what we shared a little bit in the last presentation. And this is separate from the 90 people in your cohort. So you have 90 people in your cohort, but then you're meeting with other people in other cohorts, right? So you're gaining exposure to other people who are in the Harvard MBA program, but not necessarily particularly in your cohort. And then we do reunions, right? In person, and virtual reunions, right? So those happen sort of once a year. And I think there's one sort of a big one every 5 years. And they tend to sort of bring in sort of guest speakers. And I know Poly's also doing the same. And then the last piece of the lifetime networking is a global networking event that happens once a year. It goes city by city across cohorts. Every sort of Harvard alumni is invited to come. So then you're not just networking, so it's sort of three things, right? It's the people in your cohort that you're networking with, the people in your year that you're networking with, and then the people across all years that you're able to gain access to it. So you end up sort of having a lot of interesting and strong connection and bonds. So that's an overview of how the Harvard network looks like. Now, let's specifically delve into what the Poly network, your Poly network, could look like, right? So you've come to the program, you've invested in it, and you want to develop a lifetime network that's going to last you, right? So these are some suggestions, some tactics for actually developing that. Well, the easiest one is connect with everyone in your cohort, right? Everyone in your program, on LinkedIn, right? And any other kind of social media, right? Follow them, like their post, comment on it, right? Everyone, when you post something on LinkedIn, right, or any social media, you want it to, the reason you're posting it is for it to be shared, right? And you want the other people in your program to share it, right? So I encourage you to do that for each other. The other thing is obviously have a WhatsApp group, for the cohort. Have a moderator, someone who can moderate it so that things don't get too, out of hand, and you keep it productive and focused, right? Sometimes some of these groups, they sort of venture into some political arguments and the value is lost, right? So keep it very, very focused. You can have your sort of political conversation sort of separately, but keep it focused so that it's a valuable place for people to come. So share information, share opportunities, right? Make people eager to actually be part of that group. Have a cohort directory. That basically means that, you need a list of where people live and what their skills are within your cohort, so that if you're looking for someone with a particular skill to solve the problem you have, you can look at that directory, right? You can, or if you're traveling to another city, another town, another country, you can find your cohort alumni, or even someone in the entire Poly network, right, that you can connect with. This, this is just a superpower that you want to be able to have. And then having regular reunions will keep the bond strong and valuable for each and every person. So these are some suggestions for tactics that we can use to develop the Poly network. The last one that I personally always really enjoy and have found to be a strong bonding factor for any group that I'm part of is doing group projects, right? So whether it's doing a group project for Poly, or within your cohort doing a group project, let's say there's a charity that you all want to support, right? I found group projects to be a really strong bonding opportunity to get to know people really, really well, right? So if your cohort can sort of pick or select or vote for a group project that you want to do, it will be a tremendously strong bonding opportunity. So to me, Poly is amazing because it provides really unique benefits that, all of us are outside of, we've graduated from school, right? So when you're in school, you have a unique opportunity to form strong networks. But outside of school, those opportunities are very rare. And so I think Poly has given us that opportunity to connect, with alumni in 41 countries so far on 5 continents, right? That is incredibly rare. You're probably not going to get that, in many places at this stage in our careers, right? So the international nature of Poly, I think, it's an exceptional feature that I think should not be taken for granted. I do think the multiple industries, the multiple skills, and the roles that people have in the Poly Alumni Network is incredibly unique, right? Because you have people on multiple continents, but also you have people with different skills, right? Different roles, right? That's really an incredibly unique opportunity. When you're in school, let's say in graduate school or a university, you do have, in a lot of schools, you have an international exposure, but what you don't have is everyone is in school. No one has work experience, right? In the Poly Network, you have people with tremendous work experience who can help you solve a lot of the problems that, you're facing. So, I think the Poly Network is actually incredibly rich and deep. And it would be a shame to not take full advantage of it. And I think when you combine these two, kind of unique things with the single mission, right, which is making sure that we're developing the African and African diaspora leadership, right? That is the way I interpret, the mission of Poly. This single mission can unite all of us, right? Again, I think this is very unique to Poly. And so I wanted to paint a picture of, if you put in the work, right? So if we go back, if you do these tactics, you connect with people on LinkedIn, you form your cohort group, you keep up, you join reunions, you do some group projects. Well, what is I wanted to paint what success, potentially looks like with your Poly Network, right? So one way is, who doesn't want new business opportunities, right? I believe all of us would say yes to that, right? New contacts, new business opportunities, right? New career opportunities, right? So your successful Poly Network literally could mean that every year you're gaining new business opportunities. And again, I don't think anyone would say no to that. But the second thing is new insights, right? Someone within Poly can share sort of new insights on how his or industry operates that you didn't know before, right? So let's say you're working in banking, but maybe you don't really understand how insurance works, right? And maybe you have a client, but you want to understand it. Well, someone in the Poly Network who is an expert in insurance can be able to share that, right? And that's something that perhaps you wouldn't have had. So your successful network within Poly is every year you're getting new business opportunities, but you're also gaining new insights into what's happening around the world. I think impact is one thing that a lot of leaders don't think hard enough about, right? But really thinking about expanding your impact. What does that actually mean for you, right? Expanding your impact literally means that, for example, if you are posting something on LinkedIn, you're reaching sort of like 10,000 people rather than maybe the 100 people that already knew you, right? So expanding your impact really means that the footprint of what you're doing actually doubles or triples, right? Because you've been part of the Poly Network. And I think the 41 countries within Poly allows you to build a global team, right? A global team of mentors, advisors, friends, right? To me, that's that. So your potential successful Poly Network might look like every year you're getting new ideas, new insights, new business opportunities, and you have a tremendous impact. And you have friends, mentors, and potential team members literally all around the world. So wanted to paint what your success could look like. So when you connect all of them together, you can see that it actually builds on top of each other, right? And it grows in benefit, so that even 5 years outside of Poly, like this rich, successful network, it's actually stronger than, you know, kind of when you were actually going through Poly today. So I wanted to share, you know, as has been shared, you know, before, that during 2024 is an, you know, a graduation ceremony in Ghana, and that's another, you know, upcoming opportunity to actually continue to grow your Poly network. Now, let's talk about you sort of developing your network outside of Poly, right? We've talked about within Poly, but outside of Poly, what does it look like? Well, I always want to, and I'll go through this fairly quickly because we have a little bit of content in the back end. But you know, you want to decide on your why, right? Why are you doing this? And I want to keep hammering this because your why really keeps you focused on when things become difficult, you get really busy, right? And then you start asking yourself, well, why am I spending time with this person? Or why am I sort of, you know, why do I need to develop my network, right? So spending time on your why is always sort of the first foundational thing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, using the values, interests, and goals framework, right? Literally writing them down. You know, what are your core values, right? What drives you? What are your interests? What are your goals? Writing them down helps you so that when you meet someone who has those same things, you've literally written them down, and it's easy for you to see someone who's a good match. And then where to find potential targets, right? Again, we're talking about people outside, we're talking outside your Poly network. LinkedIn, volunteering, joining various groups are typically sort of very good ways to find potential people who you have a shared, you know, going back to number 2, people who you have a shared values, interests, and goals. And then this is a visualization exercise, number 4, which is, what are your desired outcomes, right? It's visualize, and when I say visualize, imagine, but also write it down, right? What are your desired outcomes, right? So if you go back to this slide, I'm visualizing for you what your successful Poly network looks like, right? So try to visualize what your desired outcome, what do you want your network to look like, right? Literally visualize it. And even if you can, put names there, right? Say that I want to be connected to these people, providing this insight, right? And obviously, Cordell mentioned earlier, you want to always come in and being able to contribute something, but you do want to visualize it in terms of what you want your desired outcomes to be. And of all of this, I would say the most, you know, powerful factor in developing your network is watching someone do it, watching someone who's really, really good at building a network, right? Even within Poly, look at, you know, who within your cohort is really great at connecting with others, and watch them, right? And even ask them to spend time with you, right? Perhaps in a mentorship relationship, or just a 1-hour call to say that, hey, I've observed you doing networking greatly within Poly. Can I learn from you, right? For my network outside of Poly. So finding mentors who are really, really good at networking, or even finding a friend who's really good at networking is one of the key steps. So I wanted to share, so these are all the tactics, but with every tactics, you know, there are pro tips, right? There are people who do it at, you know, the highest level. And what I found is the best people in networking actually don't chase for a network, right? They don't go after building a network. They let their network find them. So the way I summarize it is, when you're clear and public about who you are, which is your values, right? Remember, values, interests, and goals. When you're clear about them publicly, you make it easy for people like you to find you, right? The best networking is not you chasing to build a network. The best is when the network finds you. So the way you become public with your values and who you are is take every opportunity you can to speak at events, right? Or sit on panels, right? Find any way where you can be public with who you are, social media, write articles, right? These are all things that you all know. All that I'm saying is be clear and public with who you are when it comes to your values, your interests, and your goals, right? So again, you can actually physically list them, right? You can say, these are all my values, these are all my interests, these are all my goals, and find various ways to be public about it so that the people who are like, I respect that guy because he or she stands up for this, which is also my value. And those people will come and find you, right? That's really where you want to be as a pro when it comes to networking. Okay. And then one thing that I do, right, and it's a superpower skill, is anytime you have ideas, share it with someone, right? Even if the person is, even within the same industry, right? Or even a colleague or whoever, right? But I find that, excuse me, sharing ideas with people that you don't know is one of the best ways to build a network with them, right? When you share the idea, you're not sharing it to build like a network. You're just sharing it because you want to be a giver, right? But what you find is those people in return come back to you and bless you 10 times more, right? But these are some of the pro tips that the people who have developed networking as a superpower that I've observed them do. Okay, so just want to summarize it. Pros don't pursue people, their network finds them. And these are some of the things that a successful network easily does for you. Again, all of you know this. I just want to list it out so that we're very, very clear. When you have a really, really strong network, you can get things done at the speed of light, right? When you face a problem, you know people to call, you know people to ask, right? You know where to find resources, right? That's really probably kind of the most powerful signal of someone with a strong network, right? They can pick up a call and get a lot of things done really, really fast. When you have a strong network, it's almost like being part of a strong family, right? You feel protected. You have advocates, you have supporters, you have people who stand by you, right? So you can walk around the world with a lot of confidence because you feel very protected and you're informed. When something is happening, you don't get surprised by it. So again, I'm painting a picture for you to see what success looks like, right? You need to sit down and write for yourself what you want your successful network to look like. But these are some of the things that success will do for you. Networking is filled with a lot of mistakes, right? We all make them, right? So I wanted to list the most common networking mistakes that you can easily avoid so that when you're spending time building your network, it's actually productive, right? And you're not struggling. So the first one, again, it's been shared earlier in this module, is taken without giving, right? But I wanted to add kind of the last part is don't overgive, right? So put some wisdom in your giving. But the first mistake that is very common is a lot of people approach networking as, I'm going to take something for myself. I'm going to ask people to do things for me without even, them doing things for the other person, right? So typically you want to do something first for the other person, right? Before you even ask. All of us are mature, so I know we're not going to make this mistake, but wanted to list it so that we all remember in case we're tempted to do that. Another very, very common mistake, people build networks too late, right? When they have an emergency, they're in trouble, that's when they're trying to call people to help them, right? Well, it's way too late, right? The best time to build a network is when you don't need it, right? Which is why building a network within Poly right now, it's probably the best thing you can do, right? So that in case something happens or you need a resource or, a couple years down the line, you're not asking people. Because the thing is, when you ask people too late, they're not going to help you. So it's actually better not to ask, right? But this is a very, very common mistake. We're in Poly, we're mature, we're grown, we're not going to do this. But if we're advising someone younger who's interested in networking, these are some other things that we need to tell them. don't expect immediate rewards, right? Or don't expect, a mentor or someone that you're interacting with for something immediate, right? It takes time to build trust, right? All great things in life take time. So don't have sort of immediate expectations. If you don't invest in your network, again, don't expect anything out of it, right? So if you're not staying in touch by sending sort of, WhatsApp messages, just saying hi, if you're not investing in your network at least like once a week or twice, a month, or some sort of cadence that works for you. One of the neat techniques that I recently heard is, someone every day he sends encouraging messages to 3 people, right? 3 people in his address book, right? And I thought that was a really kind of neat thing to keep investing in your network. But if you haven't contacted someone for 2 years, it's going to be kind of awkward for you to reach out to them out of the blue. Another tactic is to solve that, if you haven't contacted someone in a while, one way that you can do is your first contact, share something with them, right? Say that, hey, Kofi, I just read something interesting about executive education. This is the article, and I thought of you and I shared it with you, right? So one way that you can resuscitate or revive a contact or a network that has been stale, right, expired, is you can actually send them ideas, right? Remember, one of the tactics before here was share ideas with others, right? So if you want to revive sort of a network, one of the easiest things you can do is share ideas with people that you haven't been in touch with. Now, this to me is probably the common mistake, right? Don't build a network if you don't have anything in common, right? If you don't have any common interests, if you don't have any common goals, right? And especially if you don't have any common values, right? If what a person stands for is not what you stand for, right? Then it's just going to be a struggle, and the network is actually not going to be built. So don't even try to build it on a foundation that doesn't exist. The foundation is always shared goals, shared interests, and shared values. And then this is really more for people who are doing well networking, right? It's sometimes when you're doing well networking, it's easy to hold on too long, right? It's easy to hold on a little bit too long when someone within your network or a group or a network that you're part of is not useful for you anymore, right? And actually being detrimental, right? This is where you need to practice being a leader and be able to let certain things go. Okay. So, excuse me. This is a quote that from the actor Anthony Hopkins, and I'm just going to read it because it's storytelling, but I thought it really sort of captured a lot about the common sort of mistakes to avoid in networking, right? So Anthony Hopkins, actor from Hollywood, this is what he says. Let go of people who aren't ready to love you, right? This is the hardest thing you will have to do in your life, and it will also be the most important. Stop having difficult conversations with people who don't want to change. Stop showing up for people who have no interest in your presence. I know your instinct as a leader is to do everything you can to win the approval of those around you, but it's an impulse that robs your time, energy, mental, and physical health, right? So this is a quote that we can remember as we are sort of building our network.
I think you should read it again.
Okay. Okay. Let me clear my throat. Okay. So let go of people who aren't ready to love you, right? And I think even this one sentence really captures it. So let go of people who aren't ready to love you. This is the hardest thing you'll have to do in your life, and it will also be the most important. Stop having difficult conversations with people who don't want to change. Stop showing up for people who have no interest in your presence. I know your instinct is to do everything you can to win the approval of those around you. But it's an impulse that robs your time, energy, mental, and physical health, right? So let me actually expand a little bit on that. When we talk about networking, what we're really saying is we want to surround ourselves with people who love us, right? And so if people aren't ready to love you, it's time to let them go, right? And the reason that this is hard, especially for leaders, is for leaders, we're very proactive. So when someone doesn't love us, we feel that we can get them to love us if we do more, right? Leaders, we like doing more, right? Because we have a lot of energy and we think we can even force people or convince people to love us. We can't, right? So as a leader, this is really, really important. It's time, sometimes as leaders, we need to let things go. The third sentence I absolutely love is stop having difficult conversations with people who don't want to change, right? Right now, we're going through, there's a lot of polarization that's going on in the world right now, right? The Israeli-Palestinian war is just separating and bringing up a lot of difficult conversations, right? We saw that with COVID. But the thing, again, as leaders is we're always tempted to try to change people, right? And we end up wasting a lot of energy, a lot of our time, right? As a leader, your job is actually not to change people. Your job is to lead and inspire people who want to follow you already. It's not to convince the people who don't want to change or want to follow you, right? And then the third thing is stop showing up for people who have no interest in your presence. This directly ties in with networking, right? Don't try to force someone to be part of your network. Don't try to force a group. If people have no interest in who you are and what you bring to the table, maybe that's just time to let it go, right? And the last point is the instinct as leaders, right? The reason all of us are here spending time on a Sunday is as leaders, we have this can-do impulse. We want to do things, right? And it's a beautiful impulse. But we want to make sure that we're not wasting it on things that are not going to be productive to us, right? So winning approval of people who are not willing to give you their approval, no matter what you do, right? That's the key thing that I think it's hard for some leaders is, it's hard for some leaders to accept that some people would never love you, follow you, listen to you, no matter what you do, right? Even if you do everything that they ask you to do, they're just never going to. And you have to have, again, this is a beautiful time to practice. Leadership is to have the strength to let that go, right? Because what you want to do as a leader is you want to save your time, energy, mental and physical health for the people who love you, for the causes that you're passionate about, right? Because you don't have unlimited resources. You want to save it for the people who care about you. Okay, so that's a quote that we can all take away. I wanted to close again with this proverb because it really captures everything I believe about networking, right? And why I'm so passionate about the work that Polly is doing is I believe, as Africans and Africans in the diaspora, that if we want to go far, we have to go far. We have to go together, right? And that's really just my core belief. So, congratulations to everyone who's here today, right? You're making a statement that you do want to go far together, right? Otherwise, again, you have plenty of other things that you want to spend your time with. So it's been wonderful spending, this time here. I always enjoy spending time with you. And I know we've separated some time for Q&A, but this would be the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
A standing ovation, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Jordan, over to you, but this is a standing ovation, man. And
Wow.
that's your last but one slide is worth spending like a whole month, just reading it every day for one whole month. Oh my goodness. Dr. Jordan, I'm not trying to take the wind out of your sail. Over to you.
Wow. Yeah, oh my goodness. I wrote down a question. It was way back in the chat, but I want to start with that one and then we can take just a few more, Dr. Coffey, if that'll be okay.
Yes, please. A few questions. Yes, please. Just
all right. So the question that was in the chat, and it was a while back, it said, if you are trying to add a person to your network who is financially, better off than you, at a higher level, how do you make them understand that you are not just trying to network with them for their money, but for a relationship, for more? How do you make them know that?
Yeah. So there are many answers to that, but the first thing you can do is, for someone who is rich or wealthy, everyone's trying to take from them. Everyone's trying to ask them for money, right? So you never want to ask them for anything. What you actually want to do is, even though you might have certain needs, always show up and contribute to them, right? Now, the best thing you can do as a person with fewer financial resources is give them ideas. And ideas are free, right? So always go into those relationships with people who are, everyone is demanding something from them. You want to be the one person who doesn't demand anything from them. Actually, you want to be the person who's giving them ideas, right? Now, people who are rich want to make more money, right? So what you want to do is give them money-making ideas. That is the best way that you can show up to say that, I'm not here for your money. I'm here because I care about, something that you have. But first, I want to show you that I want to help you along your journey, right? And so perhaps, maybe every month, say that you found this interesting article that is going to help them invest better, or this new investment opportunity. Let's say within your Poly network, there's someone with an interest in business, right, that is growing really fast, who needs investors. That's an interesting connection you can make to that person, right? So I would say your first 5 or 6 interactions with this person should be you giving to them and, giving them ideas, giving them money-making ideas before you even make your ask. And when you do it correctly, what will happen is, one day they themselves will come to you and say, Dr. Jordan, I really appreciate everything. This idea that you sent me, I follow up with that company. I invested in that company. That company is growing very well. Is there anything I can do for you? Right? That's where you want it to be.
He sent me $10 million. That's what I need right
now. Exactly. But yeah, important question. But I will start by giving what you have first.
Okay.
I want to add to that, Dr. Jordan.
Yes, ma'am.
In conversations, you would want to listen more than you speak, and there you can get to hear some of the challenges that person is having, and be able to present a solution to the challenges that they're having. And so therefore, you, as Kobe is saying, you're actually adding value rather than trying to take something from the person. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. And somebody in the chat room said, offer yourself as a volunteer instead of wanting to take.
That's great.
The essence of the idea is to come with something and not come in asking for something. So
yeah.
Great. Cordell, there was a question for you. It was, as a woman, how do you keep your gender from being a barrier when you are networking? And I think they were talking more like, how you can come across flirtatious, maybe. People might interpret your assertiveness in the wrong way. So how do you prevent that as a woman trying to build a network?
That's a very, very good question. Okay, well, I always say it's good to be a woman. Actually, I think it's a benefit being a woman. You have to strike a balance between I'm not saying that you should flirt, but you should use your femininity as an advantage. I believe it's easier for women to get persons to do things, to open certain doors. You have to learn to balance, and you can, again, read the room, listen, not just with your ears, but with your eyes as well. You can see how people are, their body language, and you can pull back if you see that the relationship is going down the wrong road. But it's good to strike that balance using your femininity wisely. and also not letting it be about your femininity, but about the value again that you are bringing to the table. Be very clear about, you know, what value you have to add, what you know, and your contribution to the table, and be very confident about that. But I think being a woman is really an advantage, to be honest. Yes.
All right, all right, all right. Well, thank you, thank you. I thought about, when I saw the question, I thought about, you know, I served 24 years on active duty in the Air Force, and I never had a male come across with anything that was, you know, unwelcomed or inappropriate. But my last 2 years, I worked for a person, and he was a colonel, I was a major, so 04, he was in 06. And one day he said something that it crossed the line. And I said to him right then, I said, if you ever say anything to me like that again, I will report you. So I was very forward. I didn't play with it. I didn't flirt with it. I didn't give him an impression like it was okay. I instantly said, if you do that again, I will report you. So I think it's important to be very clear with your intentions as a woman. Be very clear. If there is a crossing of the line, call it out. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't act like it didn't happen. Don't flirt with it. Don't get, you know, no, call it out for exactly what it is. So I think, thank you so much, Corda. I think it's so important for us to be clear about our intentions. Other questions, you can raise your hand and ask a question. We're going to go until 1:45, so about 7 more minutes. If you have a question for any of our facilitators today, just raise your hand. Princess, I can see you. Go ahead.
Princess.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jordan. I think for me is more of a point maybe to take home, or something that have just been cleared. Maybe it might also answer some of the questions. I think myself, I have confused having contacts of people with having a network. Because sometimes you might have a contact of someone who's got money and all, a business person, but if that person is not in constant communication with you, you are not sharing maybe goals or interests, then I don't think that person is part of my network, because now that person is not someone that I continuously speak to, but it's someone that I know if there is help or there's information that needs to be shared, or there's something that I know that person might be interested in contributing to. Maybe the person wants to contribute, donate or something. So that means that person might be interested in that. But what I've just learned is that it's not everyone that we have contact with can be part of our networks, because they might not be sharing the same interests, the goals with us. They might be just distant. They might be just people that we know have got money, but they cannot assist you in when you need it. So I'm not sure if maybe I've captured something correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good point, Princess. And you need to be selective in who you invite into your network. I think that's what Kobe was telling us on the last slide. You know, everybody you meet is not a potential candidate for your network. You need to look at those values, those goals, what their interests are. Are they interested in being a part of your network? You don't want to force that. You want to let that happen organically if possible. So I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody that you meet is not a candidate for your network. You need to be very selective in picking them to be a part of your network. Did I cover that right, Kobe?
Yeah, and this is what I'm going to add this to future presentations. But your network is not who you know, but who knows you, right? And that's really kind of what Princess was saying is you might have contacts, but that doesn't mean that they know you. And if they don't know you, then that's not a network. It's just a phone contact. So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I see 4 questions. What I'm going to ask you to do is tell us your question, and we're going to move to the next one. And Kobe and Cordell will be listening to your questions, and then we'll let them answer, and that's how we'll sum up today. So Clifford, unmute yourself and let us hear your question.
Yeah, good evening to everyone. Great presentations, very insightful. My take is on Kofi's own. The issue he raised about not leaders, we often will want to change people. I appreciated the context, but I was just wondering that as leaders, one of the things we also seek to do is to empower people. And so I was just wondering what's the place of empowerment when it comes to networking, because sometimes, just as Doc said a while ago, yes, you need to be mindful of the people who are in your network. However, you need to rub on each other, iron sharpened iron. And so sometimes you seek to empower the people. So essentially, I'm just asking, if you don't have to change the people, where is the place of empowerment then? Because empowerment will obviously lead to some modification of behavior, of choices, to a better outcome.
All right, we got it. We got it, Brother Clifford. Thank you. Jacinta, you unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Hi, my name is Jacinta from Kenya. My question is, how do you maintain networks that don't serve you at the moment? Do you just keep them hoping they might serve you in the future? Or how do you go about it?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You got the question. Thank you. Gloria, unmute yourself and give us your question, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Gloria. Aminat from Uganda. I'm not sure if this falls under question or supplement. I'm not very sure, but you will guide. I'm just wondering what happens when we are so bent on making these networks and the connections and we forget self-care, specifically our mental wellness, because I'm very passionate about that. Because, you know, as human beings, lots of things will happen. The noise sometimes can overwhelm you and get to you when what is pushing you away and saying, no, you're not deserving and all. So how do we draw a balance as we're connecting, as we're making the networkings and all, and also our self-care, mental wellness in particular? Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Gloria. And the last one, Eric, unmute yourself and give us your question.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric from Ghana. Yeah, I just want to know whether there's any difference between networking and foundation. An additional question is a networking a business?
Okay, so tell me the first part of your question again was?
Okay, the difference between, is any difference between networking and foundation?
Foundation as in fundraising, or what exactly are you talking there? Or is networking a business? Is that where you want us to focus? Okay, let's go forward. Let's go forward.
Hello? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Please, your question again.
Were you saying foundation or? Yeah, you said what's the difference between networking and what was that word?
Foundation.
Foundation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we got 4 questions. Kobe and Cordell, jump in there.
Cordell, you want to take the first? Yep.
There was one about, I couldn't hear some of the questions, right? But I heard this one about how do you balance the mental.
Right. Yeah,
and what one of the words I use when in the definition of networking is reciprocity. And so when you enter into relationships with people, yes, you're finding the commonalities and all of that. And I think Kobe touched on it very well when he said, don't show up for people who don't show up for you. Don't love people who don't love you. So while you're giving, you can't keep giving from an empty cup. If you are the only one pouring out, then eventually you're gonna become empty. And if you don't see that reciprocity where the person is pouring back into you, I think that will help to drain you and let you feel that overwhelm that you're talking about. But if it's a reciprocal and mutually beneficial relationship, chances are you're gonna grow as much as the other person is growing. You're not gonna feel that overwhelm. So that's a sign, actually, that maybe it's time to let it go, even though it's so painful. Yes, let
Yeah.
those relationships go.
All
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
Gloria's question.
Yeah. I think I think networking is deeply misunderstood, right? It should really be energy giving. If it's energy draining, then it's not even you're not even building a network. You're like building like, enemies or people who are just not going to support you, right? So when we say networking, it should not be something that is forced. And that's why I kept, going back to the shared values and the shared goals and the shared interests. If you have those, it's not work. It feels like you're making friends, right? But the thing is, it's when you don't have these shared, when you don't have much in common, that's when you're putting energy in and you're getting less energy out, right? But when you have a lot in common with someone, you put energy in and you get more energy back. You're like it, so it doesn't, you don't get burnt out. There's no self-care thing because you're not getting tired, right? Imagine like hanging out with your best friend. Sometimes like, you feel like you wish there were more hours than 24 hours in a day, right? So it's really, really important for there to be a shared common bond. Otherwise, you're going to be burnt out, and what you would be doing is not actually networking. You'd be kind of forcing yourself on people. There was a question around sort of empowerment, and sort of networking and changing people. So this is what I am convinced about: is you can only empower people who are ready to be empowered. And as a leader, it's your job to separate those two, right? If people are not, the person needs to be leaning in a little bit, right? And I find a lot of leaders, really try to move, mountains, like physical mountains, right? And, they burn out or they find that it's impossible, right? What you want to find is empower people who are actually ready to be empowered. Each of us, we have our, life journey. And there are times when we're just not ready to be empowered. And as a leader, you should accept that, the person is not ready, right? We all know you can take a horse to the river, but you can't force them to drink if the horse is not ready, right? And I see leaders, we sometimes try too hard because we have that energy to try, right? So when we think about empowerment, I'll first ask you to really be honest whether the people you're trying to empower are actually ready to be empowered by you at this moment in time. Maybe they might be ready later on, but maybe not today.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one was whether networking is a business. Can it be compared to fundraising or other aspects of business?
Well, just
Hello.
Yes, Eric.
Compared to foundation, non-fundraising.
Foundation, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
just if networking is a business, I wouldn't say it's a business. It's really, again, going back to, recognizing where you're going in life, what's your purpose, what's your life work. And if you're passionate about that, establishing your personal values, it's just about building relationships, really. And those relationships, when they are strong and when you're connected with the right people who share all of what you are pursuing, who share those values, share the goals, then the business comes from that, right? The business automatically is impacted. So you're not going in there to build a business. And I think that's one of the common mistakes as well. It's all about the business, and that's all you can talk about. You have, I think I mentioned, make it more relational. You have to go deeper, trying to get to know the person behind whatever it is that you're talking about specifically, right? Getting to know people, what their challenges are, what their issues are, their family, etc. That gives you a wider base upon which to connect. Because when you're connecting, you don't want to just keep sending texts. Did you remember to call that person for me? Did you remember to open that door? You're automatically going to come across as somebody who just wants something, right? So it's really about knowing who you are, where you want to go, and making sure that the right people are in your network that support, I think, those who will support you, making sure that reciprocity is there, and the people have the shared goals and the commonalities, and they're rowing in the same direction, going in the same direction, because you can't walk together unless you're in agreement on those points. So that's what I would say to that.
Okay. All righty. Well, there are 2 hands up. I would ask you to put those questions in the chat for us because we are way over at this point. If you'll put your questions in the chat, we will get them to Kobe and Cordell. Dr. Coffee, I'll turn it back over to you. I think Nina is supposed to follow me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And before Nina speaks, I want to invite all of us here just to clap for this gentleman and this lady and Dr. Koda. Just clap for them. Let's applaud them for the incredible depths of wisdom that have shared with us. And what an amazing time! What an amazing time! And thank you all. And whilst listening to you, I think as a team we will extend by a few weeks the Alumni Community Project, so that those of you who are getting a newer insight about networking will have a chance to submit your community project. So we're going to extend that. A number of you are doing phenomenal work, and we will be happy to give you an award during our Global Leadership Awards. But we're not just going to give it to you. Your community must nominate you. So we know many of you deserve awards, so please get to your communities and get them to nominate you, because we do want to recognize your work during our Global Leadership Awards. You know what, in just half a minute, let me tell you this. Poly has executive students from Bangladesh to Brazil, Botswana, Burundi, Barbados, Cameroon. So Barbados here even tonight, Canada, Denmark, the DRC Congo, Ethiopia, Eswatini, Germany, Ghana, Haiti, Jamaica, Kenya, Liberia, Malawi, Lesotho, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines. I saw Philippines tonight, Rwanda, Saudi Arabia, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Africa, South Sudan, Spain, Tanzania, Togo, Trinidad and Tobago, UK, UAE, USA, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. And we have alumni, such a diverse alumni from senior Army officers, business owners, traditional leaders, bankers, beauticians, image consultants, change management experts, pilots, hoteliers, doctors, dentists, entrepreneurs, university professors, lawyers, MPs, and senior political leaders, religious leaders, architects, chefs, philanthropists, surveyors, media practitioners, United Nations officials, diplomats, and many other professionals. What an amazing group to network in. Over to you, Madame Nina, our Dean, as you wrap it up for us and say thank you.
Well, it's been an amazing, a super amazing night. Thank you so much, Dr. Kofi. Thank you. It's so timely to have this session. Of course, I have to welcome everyone for making out the time to be part of this. There's so much to take away because even for our community, our alumni who are going through the task of doing the community projects, and for those of them who have submitted, I would really, really, greatly commend you for, hanging in there, because we've had, I've had a few calls and a few people expressing frustrations at networking. They have a whole team or members who are not responding, maybe about 12 to 15 people on their team, and you only have they'll probably have no one responding at first. And they try to press on, they only have 3 people, you know, and I tell them, like, go on, just work with the team, work with the people who are responding to you. Work with them. You can never tell the kind of amazing work you can, you know, productive work will come out of you. And I'm so happy that this has come timely for them and for every other person who has been on the platform so far this evening. Thank you so much. And I trust you've had so much to take away. Thank you so much to our facilitators. Coach Cadell, thank you for your biblical perspective on, you know, working on your belief system, building your confidence. You definitely have something to share. Everyone has something to share, and about giving and not over giving of yourself, building connections with the people close to you. And like I always say, charity begins at home. You can't give what you don't have. So thank you so much for the nuggets of networking. And also, thank you again for the warm reception. Our Pali, we have very, very, very strong, thriving Pali alumni in Jamaica. So thank you, Jamaica family, for, you know, the warm reception you gave to Doc during his visit in Jamaica a few weeks ago. That was really, really heartwarming. Thank you, Cadell. And thank you to Joanne for sharing with us the very, very practical experiences, being an alumni, part of alumni of the community work you're doing, showing and demonstrating the fact that it is very, very doable. And I thank you for that very practical example you gave with your team. Of course, identifying all of us as social creatures who need to network. Of course, the last but not the least is Mr. Kobe. Thank you so super much for your incredible insights on networking embedded in the secret and lessons from Harvard. You've always been on a team. Thank you for making out the time this evening to share so much more with us, sharing the overview of everything, you know, about networking. I am particularly drawn to the statement you made about practicing being a confident leader with a trusted network that would support you. And I say, underline the word support you. And I think it's an embodiment of almost everything that we talked about tonight. Working with people who love you and people who receive you or accept you for who you are and for what you have to present, because you can't go out there and talk to everyone or reach out to everyone. Even Jesus Christ didn't come for everyone. You know, during his time, he had a target. He knew he had to work, you know, reach out to the people who would accept him. And even to today, it is only when you accept him as Lord and Savior that he can come into your life. So there's so much embedded in the scriptures that we can take away from, and there's so much more. And I'm also reminded of the scripture that talks about agreeing, being in agreement. And I mean, everything is all in networking, and you continue to expound on network advantages like the business opportunities, new insights, expanding your impact, and then building your new relationships, and bonding, which has to do with shared values, goals, interests, what Pali is doing in terms of networking, and of course, the mistakes that need to be avoided in networking. It's so packed, honestly, and there's so much to take away. And thank you, super, super, super thank you to each and every one of you, our facilitators tonight, for just being here and for having the heart for what you do. And the heart is so, it shows also the heart you have for people and how generous you are to share and to continue to network. Thank you for the incredible work you're doing, Mr. Kobe, for Pali and Dr. Jordan, our own very person. Thank you so much for always being here. We are like, yeah, what's up to you? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. God richly bless you. Thank you, Dr. Kofi, and back to you.
Yes, ma'am. You see, our dean is a whole university by herself. She just summarized everything from the head. Oh my goodness. Well, I've been networking very well, having just the best of people. You know, I'm not very smart, but I'm blessed to have the smartest people. You know, Dr. Jordan there, you know, 50 years of leadership experience. What else do you want? Cordell is over there. Amazing capacity. Look at Joanne. Look at Kobe. Like he is more than like 3 Ivy League professors. So look, we're just blessed. All right. We're excited to serve you. Thank you for taking time to join this conversation, and the rest is for you to go and practice what we have just shared here. Without taking any more of your time, thank you so much. A huge thank you again to Dr. Jordan for being there for us, and for all of you who have been here tonight. Thank you, Cordell. Thank you, Kobe, and yeah, receiving all for Jamaica in the chat room. And so, hey, it's over now, but you can still network right here. The party is still on, and don't forget to be in Ghana for the in-person networking. Oh, good to see my Air Vice Marshal. Oh my goodness.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, there he is. We had 156 at the highest number, Dr. Coffee. Today.
Yeah. We're grateful. We're grateful. The first time we're doing anything like this, and I think we should do more. Hey, Madam Jink, it's good to see you. This is the first time you're not flying in a plane, and you're on the ground in a class. Madam Jink, it's good to have you. So I hope you're not at an airport. Sometimes you act like our chancellor. Our chancellor always jumps into classes at airports. He doesn't live on Earth. I think he lives in the air. And the second person might be you. All right. Okay. Love you all. Have a great evening. See, Madam Remy, keep in touch. It was good having you. Oh, yes, Mr. Amos. Well, thank you for kicking off that prayer. And yeah. We'll be expecting to hear from you tomorrow. Was it great? AVM, was this useful? I mean, I wish I learned all of this, years ago.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Jeanette! Hey, Jeanette!
Stop recording, Dr.
Thank you.